Rome, the empire of grandeur and ambition, but behind the marble and gold lurked a hunger without limits. One man's appetite would shock even the gods. His name was Vitellius, the emperor of excess. This is not a story we will tell. This is a feast we will recreate. Vitellius rose to power in 69 AD, during the year of the four emperors. His reign was short but unforgettable. History remembers him not for conquest, but for indulgence. He was a man whose throne was not built on victories, but on banquets.
With its emperor.
Vitellius was not just a ruler, he was an embodiment of Rome's gluttony. One feast could cost the equivalent of millions, enough to buy fleets of modern supercars.
While the emperor indulged, ordinary Romans bore the cost of his excess.
These were not simple meals. These were monuments of excess.
An army of attendants labored endlessly to fuel the emperor's appetite.
To Vitellius, excess was not enough. He sought the impossible. In Rome, feasting was more than pleasure. It was a display of dominance.
The numbers reveal a staggering truth. Vitellius's appetite drained an empire like a bottomless pit.
Vitellius didn't just eat meals. He devoured an empire.
Behold, the shield of Minerva, a colossal silver platter, lifted high, dazzling under torchlight, laden with treasures gathered from across the empire. A closer look, rare delicacies glisten like jewels. Iridescent folds shimmer, textures blur the line between food and art. Across the empire, legions march and fleets sail. Thousands toil, so that one emperor may feast in unimaginable luxury. At the heart of the hall, the shield of Minerva gleams. A silver platter so vast, it becomes a throne of food. Vitellius leans forward, lifting a morsel of empire to his lips. This is indulgence incarnate, but this was only the beginning. Next, a spectacle of feathers, fire, and pride. The roasted peacock, carried in with its jeweled feathers reattached, the bird is transformed into a living trophy of extravagance. Guests gasp, torn between awe and disbelief, as the peacock's gilded form dominates the banquet. Then arrive the flamingos and pheasants, glazed in honey, their golden skin shimmering under torchlight. Honey drips in slow motion, turning roasted flesh into a surreal jewel of excess. Nobles feast with laughter and delight, while Vitellius reclines, watching his empire devour itself. Whispers spoke of rarities beyond imagination, dishes shrouded in gold and mystery, carried like sacred offerings. On the silver platter, jewel-like forms shimmered like crystals. Not food, but symbols of indulgence itself. Vitellius reclined, eyes gleaming with satisfaction, his presence alone turning excess into spectacle. From across the seas, a tide of riches arrives. The table groans under oysters, eels, and treasures of the deep. Glistening shells shimmer like jewels, each morsel more a gemstone than a meal. Roman fleets cut across the Mediterranean, hauling amphorae of delicacies from Spain, Africa, and the Black Sea. At last, the ocean itself seems poured onto the banquet table, a sea transformed into a feast of empire. And then, the finale, a dessert so radiant it seemed less a meal and more a vision of Olympus itself. Honey cakes dusted with gold shimmered like treasures. Figs and grapes glowed with colors richer than jewels. Vitellius raised his goblet, triumphant. In that moment, the feast was no longer food, it was a kingdom devoured. The feast reached its climax. Every dish, every extravagance, arrayed before the emperor like a conquered world. But behind the spectacle lay a machinery of empire. trade routes glowing across the Mediterranean, costs spiraling upward. 1,000 flamingos demanded 500 men, an army of hunters moving like soldiers in formation. 20 warships carved through the waves, fleets carrying delicacies as though Rome itself marched upon the sea. Inside the palace, chaos reigned. Servants rushed, cooks sweated, every corner alive with frantic labor. Across the desert, caravans pushed forward, camels burdened with jars and treasures, endless under the blazing sun.
This wasn't just dinner. It was a military campaign disguised as a meal.
From Spain, from Africa, from Asia Minor, glowing routes converged. The empire itself funneled into Rome. Soldiers, sailors, servants, and cooks. Thousands moving in unison, their lives bent toward a single meal. An entire empire's strength, wealth, and labor channeled not into conquest, but into one man's table. Numbers spiraled upward. Each flamingo, each ship, each servant, every second, adding to a rising cost. Fleets of Roman warships surged across the sea, not for battle, but for delicacies fit for an emperor. The empire strained under the weight of excess. What should have fueled armies instead fueled appetite. Archival visions show Roman legions marching endlessly, as if feeding an emperor was their true conquest. Across deserts, caravans stretched for miles, each step heavy with the burden of indulgence. Visual counters showed resources flowing into Rome, as though the empire itself was drained into one feast. Warships cycled endlessly between ports, a fleet not for conquest, but for resupply of delicacies. Workers labored without pause, their exhaustion hidden behind the gleam of silver platters. A symbolic montage revealed the empire's heartbeat. Ships, men, and animals, all consumed by one table. The rhythm quickened. Images of ships, caravans, and servants collided, echoing the chaos of empire-wide strain. Counters surged higher, glowing red, as the cost of indulgence escalated beyond imagination. Archival-style caravans staggered to their breaking point, collapsing under the weight of excess.
The numbers climbed beyond reason, as if the empire itself was bankrupting for a single night's pleasure.
Across the empire, supply lines bent and broke, men and animals collapsing under the weight of indulgence. The machinery of Rome, once built for conquest, was redirected to feed a single table.
The first entries appear, and already the numbers dwarf what most Romans could earn in a lifetime. 1,000 flamingos, 15 million sesterces, an unimaginable sum just for a single extravagant dish.
20 warships, 2 weeks at sea. Transport alone, another 40 million sesterces.
The silver shield of Minerva. Not just a dish, but a treasure in its own right.
$300,000 for one single serving dish.
A fortune turned to crumbs, swallowed in a single night of indulgence.
Exotic spices, ripe fruits, and rivers of imported wine, luxuries drawn from every corner of the empire. $2 million, just in flavors and drink. A river of fortune, swallowed with every sip.
One by one, the numbers stack, an empire's indulgence in cold, hard sums.
The numbers climb. 600,000, 1.6 million, 2 million more. The true cost of one emperor's appetite, $10.5 million.
For the price of one feast, you could buy 5 Bugatti Veyrons. Or you could fund 1,000 life-saving heart surgeries.
Or you could feed an entire city for a whole year.
This extravagance wasn't just wasteful. It symbolized the decay of Rome itself.
Rome's glory, consumed by its own appetite.
If you enjoyed this recreation of Rome's wildest banquet, give this video a like and subscribe to Food Origins. Your support fuels the next journey into history's most outrageous feasts.